Europe, the King of Colonization by Jihad Zenith. Before Columbus ever crossed the Atlantic, Europe had already learned how to conquer the world, not just with the sword, but with the cross. The pattern began long before 1492, when the Roman Empire took control of Palestine, the land of the prophets, and later the birthplace of Jesus. By seizing the Holy Land, Europe discovered a powerful truth. Faith could rule more completely than fear. If people could be made to worship under an empire's image of God, their hearts would surrender before their armies ever arrived. Rome's conquest of the ancient world was not only political, it was psychological. Temples became churches, local gods were renamed as saints, and truth was rewritten in Latin. The message of Jesus, rooted in justice, humility, and freedom, was reshaped into the doctrine of empire. What spread across continents was not the faith of Christ, but a fabricated practice of Christianity redesigned to sanctify conquest and obedience. When Rome Christianized, it didn't abandon conquest, it baptized it. From that moment, colonization wore the garments of religion. By the Middle Ages, Europe's hunger for control stretched beyond its borders. Crusades were launched not simply to defend belief, but to expand dominion. From Jerusalem to North Africa, from Spain to the Horn of Africa, European powers used religion as a bridge into foreign lands. Priests were sent ahead of soldiers, promising light and learning. Once trust was gained, fortresses followed. The missionary smile became the first wave of occupation. Faith at the door, flags soon after. In West Africa, early contact disguised as trade opened ports that later became slave routes. Missionaries mapped territories while merchants measured resources. The so-called civilizing mission brought crosses, schools, and new laws, all preparing the soil for foreign ownership. By the 19th century, the Berlin Conference sliced Africa into pieces without a single African voice present. Only Ethiopia, the ancient kingdom that traced its line to Solomon and Sheba, refused to bow. When Italy tried to conquer it, the lion roared at Adwa, defeating one of Europe's strongest armies. Ethiopia stood as proof that faith could defend itself without empire. Across the ocean, the same spirit moved westward. When Christopher Columbus arrived in 1492, he carried Europe's oldest idea, that the world could be possessed. He came not as a discoverer, but as a representative of a tradition that had already learned to enslave nations in the name of salvation. The indigenous peoples of the Americas were met with the same false greeting Africa once heard: "We come in peace." Behind that greeting came plague, steel, and scripture rewritten to serve power. Entire civilizations, the Taino, Aztec, and Inca, were erased in less than a century. Everywhere Europe went, it promised heaven but delivered hierarchy. It built churches over temples, plantations over villages, and banks over sacred land. Colonization was not only the theft of gold and soil, it was the theft of memory. People were stripped of language, lineage, and light. Even after independence, the systems of control, laws, currencies, and education remained European at their core. Colonization evolved from chains and ships to debts and diplomacy, but the mindset never changed. For over 5 centuries, Europe ruled more than 80% of the planet, not because its armies were stronger, but because its ideology was convincing. By merging conquest with religion, it mastered both body and soul. From Palestine to the Americas, from Africa to Asia, the same pattern repeated: entry through faith, expansion through fear, and rule through rewriting truth. Europe became the king of colonization not just by force, but by philosophy. It turned the sacred into strategy and the name of God into a global passport. Yet amid the ruins it left behind, nations like Ethiopia still stand as witnesses, proof that light and truth can survive even the longest shadow.